and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu writes, Senate seeks confirmation of 3 ministerial nominees. Federal government promises to harness potentials of aging population. Plus, U.S. House of Representatives weighs fate of Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news tonight is from Nigeria's leader, President Bola Tinubu, who has written to the Senate seeking confirmation of 3 more ministerial nominees. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, read a letter from President Tinubu requesting the confirmation of 3 additional ministerial nominees when the lawmakers resumed plenary session today. The nominees are Balarabe Lawal from Kaduna State, Dr. Jamila Ibrahim from Kwara State, and Ayodele Olawande from Ondo State. And while the President nominated Balarabe Lawal as a ministerial replacement for the former Kaduna Governor Nasser El-Rufai. Away from that, the federal government has promised to harness the potentials of the country's aging population. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu, made the promise while delivering an address at a ceremony organized to mark the International Day of Older Persons at the UN House in Abuja. Speaking at the event with the theme, Fulfilling the Promise of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights for Older Persons Across Generations, Edu lauded the establishment of the National Senior Citizens Center, NSCC, by the NSCC Act 2017 to promote mainstreaming of older persons in the delivery of positive outcomes for the aged. She added that President Tinubu's administration would focus on research, human capital development, and continue to create systems capable of supporting older persons, including age-friendly environments, universal health coverage, and long-term care systems. And while the federal government has said that it is hoping to create about 50,000 jobs through artificial intelligence AI by 2030, the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, made this known when he released the ministry's blueprint for the next 4 years in the 31-page document titled Accelerating Our Collective Prosperity Through Technical Efficiency. The minister, who made references to PwC reports, said AI would usher in a new era of technological and economic transformation over the next 2 decades. Tijani said, as an emerging economy, it is imperative that Nigeria formulates a far-reaching national strategy to harness the potential of AI in an inclusive and responsible manner. He added that the plan is also to achieve top 50 global ranking, currently 96, in AI readiness and adoption across metrics, computing power, skills, data availability, ethics, and governance by 2030. In the meantime, the federal government is finalizing the development of the National Diphtheria Laboratory to conduct preliminary and confirmatory testings of the disease in the country. This is even as the government said there have been 13,204 reported suspected cases, out of which 8,406 were confirmed cases from 114 local government areas in 18 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, Dr. Ifedayo Adetifa, disclosed this at a press briefing on the update of the disease in Abuja. The NCDC boss noted that the Federal Ministry of Health, through the NCDC and National Primary Health Care Development Agency and partners, have continued to work with the Ministry of Health of affected states to respond to the diphtheria outbreaks across different states in the country. Meanwhile, the federal government is set to investigate alleged negligence and refusal by Maitama General Hospital to treat a victim of robbery, Greatness Olorunfemi, before her death. The Minister of Women Affairs, Uju Kennedy Ohaneye, made this known while addressing newsmen in Abuja. The minister said if found culpable, serious actions will be taken against the management of the hospital to serve as deterrent to other hospitals and staff who refuse to treat emergency cases for reasons best known to them. While decrying the spate of attacks and insecurity in the Federal Capital Territory FCT, which has resulted in loss of lives, properties, amongst others, she encouraged citizens to assist in addressing the menace. Now to the red chambers, where the Senate has amended its standing orders to stop first-term senators from vying for the position of Senate President and Deputy Senate President. The Senate amended its order during today's legislative proceedings. The amendment of Rule 3, subsection 2, 1 to 3 of the Senate standing orders follows a motion moved by the Senate leader, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele. With a new amendment to the standing orders of the Senate, first-term senators are now excluded from those qualified or eligible to contest for the position of presiding officers of the upper chamber. Rule 3 of the Senate standing orders, as amended, now stipulates that any senator wishing to contest for the position of the Senate President and Deputy Senate President must have spent a minimum of one term in the Senate. The Senate also amended its rules and created an additional 9 standing committees to the already existing 74 standing committees. Meanwhile, the Senate Committee on Gas, led by Senator Jaribe, has urged President Bola Tinubu to expeditiously present a 2023 supplementary budget to the National Assembly to kickstart his compressed natural gas CNG project. The committee chairman, who commended Tinubu for the CNG initiative, however, warned that if it would be illegal to spend taxpayers' money or money without approval by the National Assembly on other projects in the gas value chain, which is cheaper than the use of fossil fuel. The senator has also advised against extra budgetary expenditure through Ways and Means, saying the legislature was ready to support and bring succor to the people. Jaribe stated that the National Assembly, under the leadership of the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, was poised to support the lofty programs of his administration, adding that a 2023 supplementary budget would be most appropriate instead of the Ways and Means approach of the previous administration, which is currently a major issue of contention in the Central Bank of Nigeria. From the Green Chambers now, where the House of Representatives has called on the federal government to establish a special task force dedicated to addressing security challenges in the Chibok-Damboa-Gwoza constituency of Borno State. The resolution of the House was sequel to the adoption of a motion moved at plenary today by Ahmed Jaha. The House said the task force should be given a mandate to protect the lives and property of farmers in the area. The Green Chamber further called on security agencies to intensify intelligence gathering and surveillance activities in the constituency to identify and apprehend the perpetrators of attacks on farmers. In a separate development, the Minister of Women Affairs, Uju Kennedy Ohaneye, has said that 24,720 gender-based violence GBV cases were reported in 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory FCT between September and October 3, 2023. Kennedy Ohaneye made this known while briefing newsmen on incessant cases of reported GBV, female genital mutilation, FGM, and other harmful traditional practices in the country. While decrying the increasing figures, she urged stakeholders to urgently contribute towards eliminating the menace, which she said has become worrisome and affects the lives of citizens, particularly women and children. The minister said establishing mobile courts, especially in rural communities, will promote rule of law and access to justice, as well as enhance the criminal justice pathway to address violence against women and girls. In another development, Chicago State University CSU, United States of America, has released to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar the academic records of President Bola Tinubu. The CSU released the documents to Atiku in compliance with the order of the United States District Court in the Northern District of Illinois. In ordering the CSU to release Tinubu's academic record, a U.S. district judge dismissed the president's objection. Atiku reportedly intends to use the CSU academic record in pursuit of his appeal at the Supreme Court, where he is challenging Tinubu's victory in the February 25 presidential election. But Tinubu's legal team has argued that the documents would be of no use at the Supreme Court. On labor matters now, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC and the Trade Union Congress TUC have suspended the indefinite strike scheduled to commence today. They made the announcement after a marathon meeting held between the unions and the federal government. According to the NLC and TUC, the action was suspended for 30 days to allow the government implement some of its promises, which spans across the federal government granting a wage award of 35,000 naira to all federal government workers beginning from the month of September, suspension of the collection of value-added tax VAT on diesel for 6 months beginning from October, and acceptance to vote 100 billion naira for the provision of high-capacity CNG buses for mass transit in Nigeria. Others include provisions for initial 55,000 CNG conversion kits to kickstart an auto gas conversion program, implementing various tax incentive measures for private sector and the general public, payment of outstanding salaries and wages of tertiary education workers, payment of 25,000 naira per month for 3 months starting from October 2023 to 15 million households, including vulnerable pensioners, among others. Meanwhile, a memorandum signed between NLC and TUC presidents and ministers of the federal government. In the meantime, Nigeria Employers Consultative Association (NECA) has commended the federal government and organized labor for the resolution to avert the indefinite strike in the country. The Director General of NECA, Smart Oyerinde, gave the commendation in an interview in Abuja today, stating that NECA commends the resolution of the labor as it has vindicated the body's consistent position that social dialogue remains the most veritable way to resolve issues. Now, the NECA boss added that there is need for the government to live up to its commitment and fulfill the terms of resolution, and labor should ensure improved productivity. Oyerinde further said employers will continue to insist on and advocate a peaceful industrial environment as a pillar for economic and national reinsurance. Now, in education, students of the Obafemi Awolowo University of Osun State have staged a protest against the hike in school fees. The students who stormed the varsity premises began the protest today carrying different placards. The Secretary General of the Varsity Students Union, Akimboni Opeyemi, confirmed this to journalists, noting that the students' populace do not agree with the current tuition fee. Meanwhile, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Adebayo Simeon Bamire, however, stated that the charges initially announced have been reduced. Away from that, the Governor of Enugu State, Peter Mba, has reiterated his administration's commitment to de-risking the business environment to ensure return on investments ROI for businesses in the state. The governor gave the assurances when he received in his office business operators who paid him a courtesy visit. Mba said the magnitude of the vision he expressed during his campaign, including growing the state's gross domestic product GDP sevenfold from $4.4 billion to $30 billion, constructing 10,000 kilometers of roads and building 260 integrated smart schools, would require a different financing model instead of reliance on revenues from Abuja. On a sad note, no fewer than 30 persons have reportedly drowned as the boat carrying over 50 passengers capsized in Yori local government area of Kebbi State. Confirming the development, the chairman of Yori local government area, Bala Yori, said the incident has left the people of the local government in deep sorrow, and efforts are in top gear by local divers to locate the corpses of the passengers who drowned in the river. He added that from information gathered, some persons escaped, but over 30 are still trapped. Still to come in the news. Job openings beat expectations in U.S. economic index. Just stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but There's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters counsel is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Thanks for staying tuned. Now to Africa, where South Sudan's President Salva Kiir has sacked Central Bank Governor Johnny Damian and other senior finance officials. The second time he has removed a central bank chief in just a year. The president also appointed James Garan, an advisor to the International Monetary Fund, to replace Damian. He also replaced the central bank's two deputy governors, the head of the government's revenue authority, and other senior officials in the finance and trade ministries. Reports say Damian took up the position in August 2022 after Moses Makordang was removed from the role. Elsewhere, Kenya's President William Ruto has welcomed the UN Security Council's resolution to send a Kenya-led multinational armed force to Haiti to help combat violent gangs and pledged that it will not fail the people of Haiti. President Ruto's remarks came hours after the vote at the United Nations marking the first time in almost 20 years that a force would be deployed to the troubled Caribbean nation. Ruto said the Kenya-led force will provide a different footprint in the history of international interventions in Haiti. Reports say the resolution drafted by the United States and Ecuador authorizes the force to be deployed for 1 year, with a review after 9 months. The non-UN mission would be funded by voluntary contributions, with the US pledging up to $200 million. Meanwhile, Kenya's government has banned public officials from taking non-essential trips abroad as part of efforts to cut spending. Kenya's head of public service, Felix Koskei, said the ban covered travel for benchmarking, study, training, research, and conferences. Koskei also said government officials have been directed to participate in such events virtually or ask diplomatic officials in host countries to attend. According to reports, government officials spent 14 billion Kenyan shillings, which is the equivalent of $94 million, on travel within the first 9 months of President William Ruto's government. In the meantime, Eswatini's government held the free and fair election of 51 male and 8 female members of parliament, MPs, to lower house of parliament. Recall that the 59 MPs were elected on September 29 in the Southern African Kingdom ruled by King Eswatini III. Reports say the elections are unlikely to offer any political change to the kingdom, with the MPs serving in a purely advisory role to the monarch, as candidates for the elections ran independent of any parties which are banned in the country and were selected by traditional chiefs close to the king. Elsewhere, Egyptian President Abdel el-Sisi has confirmed that he will run for a new term in elections scheduled for December. The president announced his candidacy at the end of a 3-day national conference called The Story of Homeland, attended by the country's leading politicians. El-Sisi said he has decided to nominate himself to complete the dream of a new presidential term. Reports say Egypt will hold a presidential election over 3 days on December 10 to 12, with a runoff on January 8 to 10 if no candidate secures more than 50% of the vote. Still in Africa, an army colonel has been sentenced to death in the Democratic Republic of Congo for his role in the killing of more than 50 demonstrators in August. Colonel Mike Mikombe, the former commander of the elite Republican Guard in Goma City, was reportedly accused of giving orders to open fire on anti-UN protesters. His lawyers, however, said he would appeal against the military court's ruling. Reports say the protesters were demanding the withdrawal of UN troops, accusing them failing to protect civilians who have been under decades-long attacks by rebel groups in the region. On the foreign scene now, U.S. House of Representatives have commenced proceeding to determine the fate of the vote on the Speaker's job has failed. The House have reportedly moved to debate, after which they will vote on whether Kevin McCarthy gets to continue as Speaker. Recall that Matt Gaetz, a hard-right Florida Republican, moved to oust McCarthy over an alleged secret deal he believes he made with Democrats. Well, Hunter Biden, the son of President Joe Biden, has entered a not guilty plea to charges of illegally owning a handgun at a Delaware courthouse. The plea was entered on his behalf by his attorney, Abe Lowell. Recall that prosecutors alleged that Biden, aged 53, lied about this. In the meantime, President Joe Biden has spoken out and spoken with a group of top United States allies as the future of U.S. funding for Ukraine remains uncertain. A statement via the White House said President Biden convened a call with allies and partners to coordinate the country's ongoing support for Ukraine. The call came days after Congress passed a temporary government spending bill that notably did not include aid for Ukraine, which remains. Ukraine will provide up to $52 billion in direct budgetary support for Ukraine over the period 2024 through 2027 to support reforms, create a favorable investment climate and conditions for attracting private investors to Ukraine's recovery, disclosing that the funding would be separate to the financing of military assistance. Still on Russia-Ukraine crisis, the United Kingdom, UK and NATO have warned that Western military powers are running out of ammunition to give Ukraine to defend itself against Russia's full-scale invasion. The NATO's most senior military official, Rob Bauer, told the Warsaw Security Forum that the bottom of the barrel is now visible. He said governments and defense manufacturers now had to ramp up production in a much higher rate. Meanwhile, the UK Defense Minister James Heappey urged NATO allies to spend 2% of their national wealth on defense, as they had committed to do. In the meantime, the Ukrainian Security Service (SBU) has claimed it has cracked a large Russian spy ring in the south of the country. The SBU alleged that 13 informants had been detained in the Mykolaiv region, noting that 4 of the 13 had already been found guilty and sentenced to jail with terms of between 8 and 15 years. According to the SBU, the criminals collected intel regarding the locations and movements of the defense forces in the southern region. They also adjusted Russian air attacks on the residential and public infrastructure of the regional center in the city of Mykolaiv. Still on the foreign scene, at least 3 people have been killed and 4 others injured in the shooting at a shopping mall in Thailand's capital Bangkok today. Thailand's Central Investigation Bureau said the suspect in the shooting is a 14-year-old. The Metropolitan Police Bureau posted on its social media page that the individual has been arrested with the weapon and they are in the process of assessing the number of casualties. Meanwhile, Thailand Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin said highest measures will be implemented by the Thai government to ensure the safety of all tourists in Bangkok. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. We have Blessing Dixon standing by.
Thank you, Xavier Robert. Good evening. It's business news. My name is Blessing Dixon. In the news, the number of job openings increased by 690,000 from the previous month to 9.61 million in August, surpassing market consensus of 8.8 million and indicating a robust labor market despite the federal government's unprecedented monetary policy tightening measures. Meanwhile, the number of job quits inched up to 3.638 million but remained close to a 2.5-year low. In Nigeria, the prices of basic food items have continued to soar as food inflation rate climbed in the month of August, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. A new report titled Selected Food Prices Watch showed that prices of items like beef, tomatoes, beans, garri, yam, and other food commodities were on the increase in August. Prices of food items skyrocketed, leaving many people unstable to afford staple foods. The average price of 1 kg of boneless beef was 2,149 naira in August 2022. It increased by 30.75% to 2,799 naira in August 2023, according to the report. On a month-on-month basis, 1 kg of boneless beef increased by 1.5% in August from the 2,758 naira recorded in July 2023. Meanwhile, the Stanbic IBTC Bank Nigeria PMI rose to 51.1 in September 2023 from a 5-month low of 50.2 in the prior month, pointing to a slight improvement in business conditions in Nigeria. New order growth accelerated at a modest pace, contributing to a renewed strength and increase in business activity, though market conditions remained weak. Employment increased for the 5th consecutive month in September, but slightly. In the price front, prices remained elevated, with input and purchase prices remaining at period high, largely due to exchange rate weakness and higher fuel costs. It's time for the Nigerian stock market report. The Nigerian Stock Exchange reopened after the holiday break as the benchmark all-share index moved up by 388.83 basis points to close at 66,770.97 points. Compared with the previous trading day of Friday, September 29, today's data shows a 24% improvement in volume, 15% decline in turnover, and 19% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is at 36.5 trillion naira. 116 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 24 gainers and 27 losers. Boa Cement led the gainers with a 9.94% share price appreciation, closing at 94 naira per share. On the losing side, Linkage Assurance came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 10% at 72 kobo per share. Consolidated Hallmark Insurance recorded the highest volume of 71.5 million traded shares. This is all in business news, and back to Xavier Robert for the rest of the news. Good evening.
Many thanks, Blessing. Still to come in the news. Falconet star Sebastian set to join French club that Reims to stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. We move on now to health news, where World Health Organization WHO and the Borno State government have commenced a 10-day polio vaccination campaign across the 27 local government areas of the state. The vaccination campaign is targeting over 2 million children across the state, including those situated in hard-to-reach areas. The government said the vaccines to be administered are in 2 types: FIPV for fractional doses of the inactivated poliovirus vaccine and NOPV for novel oral poliomyelitis vaccine type 2 meant to target children from 0 to 59 months. Speaking at the beginning of the campaign, Borno State Commissioner for Health and Human Services, Baba Ghana, who was represented by the Director of Disease Control and Immunization, Dr. Aliyu Shatima, said the vaccination team would be situated in a fixed and strategic location, including schools, markets, orphanage, homes, motor parks, and other public gatherings. Shatima said traditional and religious leaders would play a vital role in achieving the overall objective of the campaign, as he thanked the WHO for their continued support. Elsewhere, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention (NCDC) says it has registered 1,068 Lassa fever infections across 112 local government areas in 28 states of the Federation. The NCDC said this through its official website in its Lassa fever situation report for week 37. The center indicated that 75% of the cases were detected in Ondo, Edo, and Bauchi states. According to the health agency, there are currently 7,352 individuals with suspected cases, and the infection has resulted in the unfortunate loss of at least 181 lives in the country. The center said that the case fatality ratio of the infection stood at 16.9%. It, however, added that the prevention of Lassa fever involves avoiding contact with rodents and their droppings, practicing good personal hygiene, and taking precautions when caring for infected individuals. Still in health, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has debunked a news publication in an online media alleging the non-establishment of the testing laboratories for food fortification. A statement by NAFDAC resident media consultant Lushayo Akintola in Abuja said the publication claimed that the assertion was made by the Nigeria Economic Summit Group in collaboration with the Civil Society Legislative Advisory Center and eHealth. The resident media consultant, however, debunked the position of the organizations about NAFDAC, saying it has laboratories for analysis of micronutrients in foods and has been conducting annual surveys on food fortification in Nigeria the past years. According to him, the laboratory has vitamins units for testing of vitamins in food, which include vitamin premix and fortified food vehicles. Let's head over now to Isaac for trending sports stories.
Good evening. Well, in sports, the Falconets and Bielsa Queens forward Floris Sebastian is close to joining French First Division Women's Club Stade de Reims. Sebastian is expected to be unveiled in the coming days, subject to successful medical and agreement of terms. The 18-year-old will be the third Nigerian player to join the club in the last 12 months after Rufai Timoran and Tosin Demehi. The three players featured at last year's FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in Costa Rica. Demehi and Imoran were part of the Super Falcons squad that reached this year's FIFA Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. Sebastian helped Bielsa Queens finish third at the second edition of last season's CAF Women's Champions League in Morocco. She got a call-up to Super Falcons squad ahead of the 2024 African qualifiers against Sao Tome and Principe. However, Sao Tome withdrew from the qualifiers, paving the way for the Falcons to progress into the second round, where they would face Cape Verde. Well, moving on to the European scene. In preparation for the 2023-24 Nigerian National League season, over 40 referees have passed the national fitness test. The exercise took place at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja today. The referees were put through their pace and also underwent an endurance race to keep up with the high demands of the game in the upcoming NNL season. The program is in line with the Nigerian Referee Association, affiliated with the Nigerian Football Federation, plans of improving officiating in the country. The NNL season is expected to kickstart in October 28, 2023. It will be played in an abridged format of 2 groups consisting of Southern and Northern Conference. 40 teams will participate in the NNL for the new season. Well, in the Premier League, the video assistant referee officials involved in wrongly disallowing a goal for Liverpool at Tottenham have not been selected for this weekend's Premier League games. Darren England and assistant Dan Cook did not overrule on Saturday when Luis Diaz was wrongly flagged offside. The on-field referee from the game, Simon Hooper, will be the VR official for Bournemouth's trip to Everton. Michael Oliver, who was the 4th official, will feature in 2 games. Oliver will be VR official for Luton's game against Tottenham on Saturday before taking charge of the field for Arsenal's game against Man City on Sunday. England and Cook were stood down from duty for the rest of last weekend because of the mistake at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, described by the referee's governing body PGML as a significant human error. That's it on sports. My name is Isaac.
Thanks, Isaac. And now on our entertainment news, the organizers of the Big Brother Nigeria reality show have disclosed that the just concluded All-Star season cost 5.5 billion naira in investment. The executive head of content in West Africa Channel's Multi-Choice Nigeria, Bushola Nejumola, disclosed this at the Winners' Prize presentation in Lagos. She also revealed that the just concluded season raked in 1.53 billion votes across all voting channels. Recall that Ileba, a 22-year-old Kogi-born model, won the 120 million naira grand prize of the reality show. She secured 30.08% of the total votes to defeat Mercy Eke, who received the second highest percentage of votes, that is 23.48%. Ileba received her prize from the organizers in Lagos State. Meanwhile, former Big Brother Nigeria reality show winner Ijoma Otabo, popularly known as Fina, has emerged the female celebrity of the year amid a family feud. Fina won the Celebrity of the Year award at the recently concluded Le Mode Green October event. This is coming amid the ongoing feud between the reality star and her family. Recall that Fina's father had, during an interview, accused her of abandoning her family after she won the 100 million naira grand prize for the 2022 Big Brother Nigeria Level Up edition. On entertainment, Something Like Gold has kick-started its theatrical run with a gross of 11 million naira at the Nigerian box office. According to the details released by Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria, SIAN, Something Like Gold recorded a total gross of 11,074,200 naira between September 29 and October 1, 2023. The movie tells the love story of a lady who finds love again after being stood up during her wedding. She must navigate a new life after her father's wealth is seized and learns some hard lessons that end up leading to a new love igniting. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Saiga Robert. You have a terrific night rest. Bye-bye.